Well, thanks to those of you who have come to our foster open house. Basically, we just want to give you an idea of what it is like to foster for HRA. I'm Jennah Billeter. I am the Director of Foster Programs at the Humane Rescue Alliance. And what we want to do is we want to recruit you to foster for us. We have started placing over 50% of our animal population into foster homes, which makes it critically important that we always have homes for our animals to go to. And so we have the most need for large dogs, so over 40 pounds, to place in foster homes with no breed restrictions, and then adult cats. And the good news is that most of our adult animals, if they don't have any special circumstances surrounding their needs, they take about 2 to 3 weeks to get adopted. So a fairly short stay in a home makes a really big difference for our animals. The other cool thing about our foster program is that we place a continuum of animals in foster homes. So if you're interested in fostering a gerbil, we will likely have a small critter for you, but we also have cats and teeny tiny baby kittens that are just born, those that are being taken care of by a mama cat, but also those that need to be bottle fed. And then we have all kinds of dogs that need to be placed in homes for various reasons, medical, just need a place to stay, and on and on. So older animals, puppies, all kinds of fun things to wet your whistle. We have guinea pigs, pregnant guinea pigs, all kinds of fun critters to welcome into your house. A couple things, we provide all medical care. We have a behavior team that will professionally support you should any of those needs come up. You get to help get your animal adopted, but we have a professional adoptions counseling staff that helps with all the finalization of the adoptions. And then one of my really, truly favorite things about our foster program is the community of over 2,000 foster parents that we have that are there to support you with anything that you might need, from questions to I need help getting a lift to get into my medical appointment to you name it, supply exchange, all kinds of really great stuff. And taking care of animals when people have to go on vacation, so foster sitting. There is someone in the community that will be there to support you. And then finally, the other thing that I really love about our program is we have case managers that once an animal is placed in a home, they will be your point of contact to help you through any questions that you have. Anything that comes up that you're not sure how to deal with, they will be the person that you communicate with, and they will support you through fostering an animal. So that's a super quick rundown of our program. We are lucky enough today to have 2 foster parents with us, Trevor and Nikki, who are going to talk to you a little bit about fostering for HRA. So Trevor, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can kind of talk about what it's like to foster for HRA.
Great, thank you, Jenna. So I have the perspective of a fairly new foster parent. I just started a little over a month ago and fostered my first dog. He was a large dog, he's a little over 50 pounds, and he was with me for just under 2 weeks before he got adopted. I signed up for through HRA, and as Jenna mentioned, there's a wonderful community that once you've been approved, you get put on the listserv. So I was able to get some of the supplies I needed from other fosters. And then I picked up a few extra things that I needed specifically for Chad, the foster dog. And it was a great experience. I only had him for about 2 weeks. I'm not real active on social media, but I did work with some friends to get just one post of him. And apparently that's all it took, because he was adopted shortly thereafter. But very positive experience. I don't currently have any animals with me right now, just because I'm going to be traveling in the near future. But one of the things, as Jenna mentioned, that I think is neat about the program is that there is, if I did have an animal and was going to travel, I've seen plenty of emails go out where people are looking for somebody just to watch a pet for a weekend, or sometimes a little bit longer than that. And there's always been somebody, it seems like, that is willing to do that. So it seems like pretty much any situation that could come up, there's somebody there to help you with that, either through HRA or the foster community, which I think makes it for me, made it a very successful process.
Hello, I'm Nikki. I've been fostering about 11. I've had one cat. I currently have another 100-pound dog, but he's hopefully going to be adopted soon. The reason I got interested in this is because I have a strong interest in animal rescue just generally. All my previous pets and the current ones that I have were all rescues. And I've actually adopted recently 2 guinea pigs from the HRA. And then the other reason I got into it was because I have all my pets, except for the new acquires, are generally between 10 and 19 years old. And as you get senior pets, it gets more expensive. The veterinary bills was running anywhere from several hundred to $1,000 in vet because of like renal having the foster animals where the HRA pays for all their medical expenses. I get to love the pets, treat them as my own, spoil them, and then help them find a great family. And that's all I have.
Wonderful. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks, Nikki. So we got some really great questions from folks who are sort of thinking about fostering, and we have a lot of folks sort of joining us on the call today. So if you're on the call and you're sort of thinking about fostering, or maybe you have experience fostering or just have a question maybe about fostering a different type of population of animal, feel free to send it in the chat. We'll be taking questions throughout the session, and we can open it up to Jenna and Trevor and Nikki. But I want to sort of kick it off with one question that we got for Trevor and for Nikki, and for Jenna, you as well. I think it's a 2-part question. The first is, what sort of was your biggest hesitation before signing up to foster? And then on the flip side of that, what's been the most rewarding experience for you both? Trevor, maybe you want to start?
Sure. I think my biggest concern was getting an animal that wasn't house or crate trained, and I got lucky, and Chad was both house and crate trained. So I have not had a long history of pets. I had them growing up, but they were all outdoors, and so that would have been a new experience for me. And thankfully, I didn't have to deal with it this time around. I think the thing I enjoyed the most about fostering Chad was just having a pet around. Like it is fun, especially living in an apartment in DC during a pandemic. It was nice to have a pet.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been hearing a lot of that sort of companionship and that human animal bond. That's certainly sort of been highlighted this past year. Nikki, what about you? What's been sort of your biggest, most rewarding part, I guess, of fostering, and then maybe something you were hesitant about at first?
So I was hesitant with fostering a little bit just because I have a little one. You guys can probably hear him in the background. So I had to get, pets that would be child safe. But then also because I have resident pets, I also have to get pets that are, friendly with other animals. So that was my biggest hesitation, but so far it's worked out. And then the biggest joy is because both of the fosters I've had so far were medical fosters, seeing them, improve to the point where they could be medically cleared and then adopted out. My first one, I had her for 8 months, maybe close to 9 months before she found that forever family. So it was really cool to see her, change over that continuum of time, even though it took a long, long time to get her there.
Absolutely.
I also just want to add a couple things in there based off of what Trevor and Nikki said. For all of our dogs, they are professionally evaluated by our team. And so it helps us give us a snapshot, but also an idea of how we think the animals will fit into families and the type of living environments that they might need. And so we take that into consideration when we're matching an animal with a household. And we allow our foster parents to give us all kinds of information about where they live, who they live with, the types of animals they're interested and able to take into their home. They can specify if they do or don't want to work with animals with behavior needs, all of that stuff. And so we really take that into consideration when we're looking at placing an animal in a home so that everybody's happy, animal, person, and we really want things to be successful and a great experience for everybody.
Jenna, sort of a add on to that question, Raquel has a question about, you mentioned some of the behavioral assessments and all the assessments medically that our animals go through. She wants to know if that information is sort of disclosed to the foster in detail before confirming a foster match, and then even afterward, what kind of information is shared with the foster?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So anything that we know about the animal that may be a concern or a challenge when placing the animal in a home, we would definitely let you know when we make the match. So we evaluated Fluffy. Fluffy seems to be a little bit possessive over high value items like treats and food. And then we'll give you information on how to manage that. And then if you get an animal home and it's not working, we always are happy to have the animal back, but we also can connect you to behavior support that will help you work or manage with the behavior. With that said, I always say you cannot guarantee behavior. So sometimes what we see in the shelter doesn't always translate into a home setting. Shelters can be really stressful, even at an awesome place like HRA. Like, it's just not the same as being in a home, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in a shelter that can make animals nervous. And just like people, when you're really nervous, you're not always going to behave the way that you would when you're more relaxed. But yes, we do our very best, one, to get as much information about an animal before we place them as possible. But two, anything that we know about an animal, we will let you know that ahead of time. And so when we match you, we'll give you the highlights of here are the things that we've seen. And then your case manager can go over things in details, talk about strategies for setting everybody up for success, all that good stuff.
Perfect. Sort of our next question, it's a good segue. I think we see a lot of times folks have a lot of interest in fostering. But it's like, I'd love to foster, but, and then we hear all the sort of reasons why they're sort of hesitant about fostering. We hear things like, I don't have a yard, or I live in a small apartment, or, maybe I don't work from home full time. And so that's one question Erica has, is there a preference for foster parents who work from home? And then also, maybe we talk a little bit, Jenna, Trevor, and Nikki, about some of those other pieces, about what are some of the general sort of things that you have to think about when fostering, and, those pieces about working from home and, not having a yard. Are those barriers to signing up to foster with HRA?
For us, those are not barriers. We don't require that you have a yard or a fence or whatever. It's okay if you have shared walls. If you live in a condo or apartment or a small space, that's totally fine. I would say people often think they cannot have a large dog in an apartment space because it's a big dog. But first of all, right now our dogs are living in kennels, which is a lot smaller than an apartment. But also, if you have a dog that matches your lifestyle, that's really what you want to look for. So if you're active, you want to say you want a medium to high energy dog. If you're more of a sit on the couch and chill out kind of person, then you want a medium to low energy dog. That's really what you need to consider. But cats are great for apartments. They do well in studio settings. So because we have such a continuum of animals that we need to place, don't necessarily think that you can't be helpful or be involved because of where you live.
And same for working from home.
Absolutely. Most adult dogs, most people work full time and are not in the home, and they get walked before the people leave for work and when they get home from work. So it is definitely not a requirement to foster, for sure.
Perfect. Andrew has a question. Maybe Trevor, Jenna, you can both sort of take this one, but what advice do you have for first-time fosters, but particularly first-time fosters with an animal already in the home? So a resident animal already at home, what would that sort of look like?
So I'll let Trevor talk about being a first-time foster, and then I'll talk about critters in the home, okay?
That sounds like a good mix, because I don't have any animals at home. So being a first-time foster, I think that's a good question. What lessons did I learn? I think for me, it was the entire experience was a learning exercise. I didn't really know what to expect. I live in like a fairly medium-sized apartment. And I do have shared walls, and I don't have any outdoor space, but I was able to go on a couple walks, working from home right now. But in the morning, the afternoon, and then in the evening, I'd go on a walk. And it was nice to get outside. And that seemed to be enough for Chad. He was pretty solid 30-minute walk, and that was all he wanted. He didn't want any more than that. He'd let me know pretty quick when we got too far out. I think, yeah, I mean, I think I got really lucky with the dog that I was placed with. He was very well behaved, very well mannered, both in the apartment and when we were outside walking around. I'm not sure if I have a ton of advice because I think I got really lucky. Cross your fingers and hope for the best, I guess.
I think flexibility is important if you're going to be a foster, because like I said, we can think we're giving you one thing and you might get another, and just be okay that circumstances might change. I think that it's important to like have the expectation that this animal is coming from a setting that is not a home setting. And so adjusting to a home lifestyle is going to take some practice for your foster animal. And then the other part of that question about cohabitating with other animals, we want you to tell us that you have other critters in your home and what they are, and we take that into consideration when matching. So for example, if we're looking to place a dog in a home that may have cats, we're going to look for animals that have not shown prey drive, animals that may have come to us that had to be surrendered because their owners couldn't take care of them anymore, that have history of living successfully with cats in the home. So we're going to look for evidence that we can safely place one animal with another. We also give you advice on how to acclimate dogs to dogs, dogs to cats, cats to dogs, all that good stuff. We have lots of great information about that, and case managers can be super helpful about that as well.
Well, Jenna says next question, how long will I have my foster animal? And Erica had another good question here. What happens if it takes a long time for the animal to get adopted? And I guess related to that, what types of outreach can be expected, and how can they be supporting HRA to get their animal into their sort of new home?
Okay, so on average, healthy adult animals take about 2 to 3 weeks to get adopted. But we are also placing really young, brand new, just born baby animals into foster, and they have to basically grow enough to be either have spay-neuter surgery or be big enough to be away from mom to get adopted. And that typically takes 6 to 8 weeks for our little baby animals. Animals who have medical needs, those can be a much longer foster just because we're working to resolve those medical issues to a point where the animal can be adopted. So those may be from 2 to 4 months. So that's kind of the main categories and the length of time that it often takes. What if an animal's in foster for a really long time? Well, one, you are not obligated to keep an animal for an entire year if that doesn't work for you. They are our animals. We can find another foster. They can come back to the shelter. We have options. However, it is very rare that unless something significant is happening with the animal, which hopefully we will be able to tell you before you take an animal into your home. We have a couple things that we do. We have an adoption action plan that we put in place for animals who've been in foster for like longer than 90 days, which is basically like a really specific like PR campaign that we put in place, and we work with foster parents to help get the animal adopted. What was the next part of your question? Sorry, Danny.
The next part is the outreach piece. So like, are they expected to go to adoption events? And then how can they help promote their animal getting adopted? Like, what does that outreach and promotion piece look like?
So it is completely up to you whether you participate in adoption events or not, but we do ask that foster parents take an active role in helping their animal find their adoptive home. So what that typically looks like is we're going to ask you to take some cute pictures, maybe get a couple cute video clips, and help write a bio about what it's like to live with your foster animal. You're going to submit that to our volunteers. They're going to come up with a really cute bio to put on our webpage, and our webpage does a lot of the advertising for you. And then if people are interested in adopting or foster, they email you, you set up a meet and greet. Most of our folks are still doing virtual meet and greets. And then you tell them about what it's like to live with your animal, answer any questions an adopter might have. And then adopter submits a questionnaire and our adoptions team takes over and approves the adoption and finalizes and does all the fees and all that good stuff. So there's that. And then animals who may be overlooked, we have a super duper communications team that will do cool stuff with social media and help getting the animal more visible and more attention.
Well, so maybe let's transition and talk about the sort of timeline. So once you've submitted an application, you sort of made that decision, you've submitted your application online to become a foster, the questionnaire, how quickly from that point would you then be placed with an animal, and what does that process look like?
So there's kind of two parts to the onboarding of a new foster parent. There's them submitting the sign up saying, I want to foster. And then we ask that you do an online orientation, which depending on how quickly you're responding to the things that we're sending to you could all happen within just a day. And then we ask you to fill out an OnDeck form. And OnDeck is our way of proactively making sure that we are placing animals in foster homes. So our program's a little bit different in that you're not going to go to our website and say you want to foster a specific animal. You're going to tell us all about the types of animals that you're willing to take into your home. And based on the animals that need placement, we're going to match you with someone who's a good fit for your home. Depending on how the types of animals that you sign up to foster really determines how quickly we can match you with an animal. So if you sign up OnDeck and say, I'm willing to take any breed of dog over 40 pounds, you will likely get matched that same day because that's how bad we need people to foster that population. But if you say, I can only take a dog under 15 pounds with no medical or behavior issues, it's going to take us a while to find that type of dog for you. So the more criteria you have for being placed with an animal, the longer it may take us to match you with an animal. So if you have 6 cats and 4 dogs in your house, that's going to limit the field of animals that we can choose from to place with you, because of course we want to set everyone in the household up for success. Hopefully that makes sense. But it could take anywhere from same day up to a week or two, depending on what your needs are and the population that we have in the shelter that needs placement.
Perfect. This next one is probably for Trevor and Nikki and Jenna, you as well, if you want to jump in. But we have a couple of folks, someone said they were really interested in fostering, they're like really considering it, but just nervous about being able to take it on, bring in a new animal into their home. Trevor and Nikki, what has the foster community been like at HRA, and have you found it supportive? And what sort of maybe you could describe a little bit about some of the support that you've been able to offer or that is available to new fosters?
I think that was one of the things that impressed me the most, is how supportive the community is. Once you've been approved, you get added to the listserv, and there's, I think, pretty frequently people sending out questions over listserv or asking if anybody has any certain supplies. I know for some of the foster events, there's been people that didn't have transportation for either them or their foster animal, and people were able to get support by just sending out an email over the listserv. I was also nervous about it. I'd never fostered a pet before, and the only way to get over that, I guess, is to jump right in, and so I did. And I got, for me, some of the stuff that I get, some of the supplies I got, a crate, for instance, a large crate for Chad over the listserv for free, didn't cost me anything. Just had to go pick it up, but sometimes there are people that are willing to drop stuff off too if transportation is an issue. So I think it is a very supportive community. I know I thankfully didn't have any behavioral issues, but I know that HRA also offers support for all of that too. I did have a medical appointment, there was a spot on Chad's eye that they wanted to follow up, so I had to bring him back for that. But as they mentioned, all the medical care is taken care of. So I think a lot of the things that might make you nervous about becoming a full-time pet owner are kind of handled and taken care of by HRA or through the foster community.
Absolutely.
And I'll echo what Trevor's saying, because the case manager is fantastic. And then they, like I said, they do give you information on how to introduce pets. The community support's great. Finding other people like watch your foster pet if you need to go on vacation or something. Also sharing supplies. Like Chad, I got a crate from another foster that would have been, you know, a couple $100, but it was nice that they shared that. And then the medical staff has been great as well.
Absolutely. Jenna, I want to, Erica had a question, so I want to make sure we cover that before we move on to our next sort of topic, but sort of, I think it was related to the sort of signing up OnDeck, but she was saying, you know, is it a similar sort of process? Like if your foster gets adopted quickly, would you then get another one pretty quickly? Would you then get rematched and signing up OnDeck? So maybe you could talk through the OnDeck process a little bit.
Yeah. So OnDeck allows you to have complete control of when you get matched and who you get matched with. So if you get an animal and it gets adopted quickly, you just go back in, edit the form, and update your availability to say I'm available now, or I'll be available in a week. And that's how you indicate to us that you are ready for another animal. So we won't just like continually match us. You need to let us know when you're ready to be matched.
Perfect. All right, so let's maybe talk a little bit about sort of the harder questions. You know, what happens if you get an animal and it's just not working out? What are the options? What support can HRA provide? And how do you sort of move forward from there?
Yeah, so we have options if it's not working out, but here's the bottom line. Matching is not a science, it is an art. So it's not always going to work out, or you may get a dog and the expectations or the reality of your situation isn't conducive to supporting the animal we matched you with. It's okay, it's totally fine. I need people to hear this. It's okay if it doesn't work out. One, it gives us more information about what an animal is like in a home, so that helps us match better in the future. It gives the animal a time to be outside of the shelter, which is always great. And if you have to give the animal back to us because it's not working out, it's okay. You can return an animal to us basically 24/7 if it's not working out. So really, it's okay. It also helps you learn about what you need to articulate to us so that we can give you something that's going to work well for you. Like I said, we always do our best to try and like check all the boxes, but sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's totally 100% fine.
Perfect. And I guess our last question that we have here is related to training. So what type of training resources are available? I know Chad, you mentioned, or Trevor, you mentioned Chad sort of came, you know, with a lot of basic manners skills, but not all of our dogs do, and some of our cats too. So what are some of the training options that we make available to foster parents?
Yeah, so we have a really awesome continuum of options for foster parents, ranging from your case manager is equipped to really support a lot of the common things that we see with animals adjusting to living in a home. So need to touch up on the potty training, need to learn to be in a crate, adjusting to living with other animals. Case managers are all equipped to help you kind of through those things. But when things reach a point where they're not equipped, we have a professional behavior staff that is very equipped to help with these things. And so they will do everything from giving you advice via email to having a FaceTime meeting with you to one-on-one in-person support. And then for things like loose leash walking and basic manners and things like that, we allow our foster parents while they're fostering their dogs to attend our public training classes for free. One of the cool things about HRA is that we actually have a cat expert that works with us, and she's basically a nationally renowned cat behavior expert. So we're so lucky to have Lisa, and Lisa will help you if your cat is having difficulty adjusting or having behavior issues. So we are so fortunate here to have like such a deep base of like great knowledge and people to help with behavior issues.
Absolutely. A couple more questions in the chat. What about responsibilities as far as food? We talked about supplies a little bit. There's a great resource for that, but are fosters responsible for supplying all the food, particularly if it is sort of like a dietary restriction or any sort of medical food diet?
So in general, we do ask that foster parents provide for the basic care needs. So food, water, bed, bowl, toy, leash, all that kind of stuff. Cat beds, all that kind of fun stuff. But if an animal requires anything beyond those basic needs, HRA will provide that. So if they're on a prescription food, we will supply the prescription food to you. If they require medical care, medical treatment, we provide that to you. For folks that foster our babies that require hand feeding, so bottle babies, we provide formula, scales, snuggle safes, nipples, bottles, all the things that you need to take care of that special population of animals.
Right. I think our last question, unless folks have any more you want to submit to the chat, we're happy to keep answering. But the last one, Jenna, is just for you. And it's sort of, you know, how often are we needing new fosters? This is sort of like a year-round need or seasonal need. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
We always need new fosters. Our goal is to have most of our animal population in foster, and our goal for that reaches beyond once things kind of normalize after pandemic time ends, right? And so we know that animals do better in a home setting. And so that's where we want our animals to be. And that relies solely on having people available to raise their hand and say yes. And so we always need foster parents. Now, there is a magical time during the year called kitten season. And that's when all the baby kittens start coming into the shelter. And so typically between May and September, we have a very high volume of kittens coming through the shelter of all stages, ages, and needs. And so we definitely always need foster parents during that time to take in our kitten population, mostly because they're far too young to stay in the shelter. And so we absolutely must have foster homes to put them in. But we always have dogs, we always have cats, and we always have small critters that are coming through our front doors because we will take any animal in DC that needs our help. And we also work with other organizations from outside of DC to bring animals in that need our help as well. So there's always a need.
Wonderful. Well, Trevor, Nikki, I'll open it up to you if you have any sort of closing thoughts on, you know, your experience fostering or, you know, why you continue to come back and foster and say yes for HRA.
One thought I have is that, you know, when you first get your foster animal, give them, you know, a couple of weeks to kind of acclimate to you guys because they are coming from a high stressful place. But it's really awesome when you see them come out of their shell and become a member of your family. I think that's why we keep doing it. And, you know, I plan to keep doing this for a long time. We've had just an excellent experience with it. And not only do I do the foster, but I also do the community cat program where I have like 4 stray cats that I care for outside. And the vet took care of one of the cats that had like an abscess on his paw. So again, it's just a great org because you can, you know, help the community cats, you can foster. It's a good way to be involved in your community.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it, for me, it was, having Chad was very rewarding, and I think I got lucky, and I think it was a good foray into being a foster parent. It's definitely something I look forward to continuing to do. I've got some travels coming up, but after that, I'd like to foster another animal. And I think that what makes it easy is HRA and the community that you become a part of. There is a lot of support. I never felt like I was out on my own or didn't know what to do or didn't know who to talk to. So I would, if you're thinking about it and on the edge, I would encourage you to go ahead and give it a shot.
Well, I put the link in the chat to sign up. It's humanerescuelines.org/foster if you're interested in learning more about our foster program. If you want to read more about some of our frequently asked questions, we have information there. And then the questionnaire to sign up to become a foster and get more information is available there as well. So Jenna, any sort of closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
I would say don't hesitate, sign up. We need you, we need your support, and I look forward to matching with an animal very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us. This was really fun. We had a good first virtual foster open house. I hope we'll be able to do this again soon.
Thanks, everybody.